Welcome to the channel. I did a video quite recently starting to talk about 15 things that I won't be buying or using in 2025 as part of my early retirement minimalising in my life, trying to simplify everything. And in this video I want to do a bit of a part two because I actually made a list of 30 things that I was going to be giving up, but it would have made for a very long video. So if you haven't watched the first video and you want to see the first 15 things, they're not in any particular order, they're not in priority or anything like that. But if you want to see them, I'll put a link to that video up in the corner here. But for today, let's crack on with part two and my second lot of 15 things that I am no longer going to be buying or using as we head into 2025. And number one is new clothes. Now, I don't think I'm going to be able to say I will never buy any new clothes because I'm actually losing weight, which is a bonus. It means that a lot of the stuff that I've already got in my wardrobe that I haven't been able to wear for a little while, I can get back into, which is nice. But also things, styles change, my life is changing. So there are going to be clothes that maybe I do need to buy. But what I'm not going to be doing is buying clothes without doing a one in, one out strategy. So I am prone to having way too many clothes, wardrobes full of clothes. And I want to get away from that because I don't need them. I think it's just more stuff to clutter the place up. So my strategy going into 2025 is one in, one out. And also to really think carefully about whether I actually need to buy the thing. I am definitely one of those people that is a shop dream. I will go out and find things to buy and suddenly have a need for them that I didn't have before I saw them in the shop. So one in, one out is the strategy moving forward. Number two is gadgets. I am a proper gadget queen. Mark laughs at me because I've got every gadget going. If it's electronic, if it's anything to do with cameras or phones or just gear in general, I absolutely love it. And I do have an awful lot of stuff that I've bought over the years that seemed like a good idea at the time and I've never used it. For example, I bought a gimbal for my camera and it works brilliantly, but it's so much faff to actually get it all balanced up, to put the camera on, even just to take the bigger camera out. So I never use it, but I've got it there and it's just sitting. Now, probably I should sell a lot of the stuff that I don't use, and I might well do that as the year goes on. But my plan is not to buy any new gear, especially not camera gear. I have a DJI Pocket 3, which I use when I'm vlogging. In fact, I use it for just about everything. I've got a Nikon Z30 that I tend to not use as much as I should. I've got an iPhone 15 Pro Max, I think it is, which does so much for everything I need, to be honest. Between that and the DJI Pocket 3, I have no needs that are unmet when it comes to filming. But from a YouTube gadgets point of view, I am pretty much where I need to be. I have no intention of buying more stuff. 2025 is the year of no more gadgets. I've got these numbered 17, 18, 19, and now of course I'm doing 1, 2, 3 again. So am I on to number 3? I think I'm on to number 3. Is subscriptions. I have a tendency to subscribe to things on a whim, and they kind of get forgotten, especially if I do an annual subscription, which I tend to do because they're normally a little bit better value. But a couple of things happen when you buy an annual subscription is, first of all, if you haven't given that subscription a try out, you think you're going to use it and then find that you don't. And also, I tend to forget that it's coming up for renewal, and then the next year it auto renews and I haven't used it for 10 months. So I'm trying this year to be much more conscious of the things that I subscribe to, and if I can get a chance for a free trial, I will take the free trial. And I will probably, if there is something that I really do want to subscribe to because I think it's really useful, I'm going to do it on a month-by-month basis for at least the first few months to make sure that I do actually use it. And I'm going to put reminders in my calendar, which isn't actually something I'm very good at remembering to do. But if I put reminders in my calendar for when that sort of free trial is up, or when the first 3 months are up, then hopefully I won't get caught out, because although they're not expensive, quite often they're just a $5 here, or $3.99 or whatever. They're quite small amounts. When you look at how many accumulate when you don't keep a check on them, quite easily you can be spending £30-40 a month on subscriptions that you never use. Number 4, I think it is, are physical books. Now, unsubscribed from Audible, but I do have Kindle, and I also have Spotify that has audio books on there. So I get a limited amount of listening time with Spotify. I think it works out to about a book a month, which is what I was paying for my credit on Audible, but I'm paying for Spotify anyway. So I am not going to buy actual books, partly as well because we go away a lot in our camper van now, and they're just extra weight. I'm always taking my iPad anyway, so I just have Kindle and I read my books on my iPad, and it keeps the weight down. And it's a shame really, because I do love physical books. I love the feel of a book and the smell of a book, but they do just mount up and clutter the house. I have an office full of business books and personal development books, and to be honest, I don't, or at least I haven't for the last few years, read an awful lot of books for pleasure, novels, etc. So now that I'm retired, I have more time on my hands to read for pleasure. But what I don't want to be doing is buying a whole load of new books. So what I might do is join the local library, or look for book exchanges. They're quite often all over the place, aren't they? So if I can find a book exchange where it's sort of a swap, 1 for 1, I will do that. But I don't intend to buy any more books. The library seems to make the most sense, as long as I can remember to take it back and not get a library fine, because I am a little bit guilty of that. The next thing that I'm not buying or not using are notebooks. Now, let me just take this off, I'm a bit warm. I have a little bit of an obsession, I think you would call it, with notebooks. I have dozens and dozens of them, physical notebooks I mean, and I have GoodNotes on my iPad, which I'm going to let the subscription for that go, because I have got a subscription to GoodNotes, but that won't be renewing. But I do have a tendency to just buy notebooks and not use them. I write in the first few pages, and then the novelty of having a nice shiny new notebook wears off, so I go and buy another one. But this time I'm not going to do that. I am going to use the Notes app on my iPad. I'm really going to, I guess, use my iPad to its full potential, because I haven't done up until now. And also, just not having loads of notebooks kicking around the place will be less clutter. So that's something I'm definitely not going to be buying this year. That's going to be a tough one. The next thing is things that need batteries. Don't go there. But things that need batteries, I'm going to try and use USB versions of instead. Or if I've got things that already have batteries, see if I can get some decent rechargeables, because things like twinkly lights, LED lights and torches or flashlights, all of that sort of thing, you can get them USB versions now, and that just makes so much more sense to be able to charge them up rather than having to buy batteries and then have to dispose of batteries and all of the rest of it. So anything that takes batteries, I'm going to try and get USB versions of from now on instead. Next up, bags. Now, I don't buy expensive handbags. I'm not one of those people that has to have their, Mulberry handbag or anything like that. But I do like bags, and I do have far too many of them. So I'm going to make a point this year of not buying any more handbags, and also not buying any more rucksacks, because that is something that I have a tendency to buy as well. I've got loads of them. I've got a rucksack that's all divided out for my camera equipment. I've got, oh gosh, it is hot in here. You wouldn't think it because it's icy outside, but it's warm in here. I've got a rucksack that I take out like a day pack. I've got another one that has a waist strap, so if I'm carrying something a bit heavy and we're going for a hike, it's a little bit more comfortable. And I've got loads. I've got a wardrobe full of bags that I don't use, and handbags and clutch bags, dress bags, just way too many. So I'm going to dig them all out, and the ones that I don't want, I'm going to get rid of to the charity shops, and I'm going to be very disciplined in not buying any more bags. Are we up to number 9? I've completely lost track, so this might not be 15, but bear with me. The other thing that I'm not going to be doing is buying coffee in cafes when I'm working. So I am not working anymore. I have retired. I have to get used to saying that. But I still want to do some work. I'll still be editing these YouTube videos and our other channel, The Good Life. We do travel vlogs, so I will still be working on my laptop. But when I had my business, I would quite often go and find a cafe, and I would work from a cafe. And in all honesty, I spent quite a bit of money, I guess, on coffees and teas and lunches while I was there, because you can't just go and sit in a cafe and work and not buy anything. So two reasons really. One is I don't have an income coming in anymore. Therefore, going and spending money just on coffees and things is not something I've got the spare cash to be doing now. But also, I kind of don't want to be working. I want to get away from that feeling of doing a job. Editing and things, I quite enjoy editing. I don't need to be sat in a cafe to do that. Where I used to sit in a cafe was if I had to do something that needed concentration. Well, I can edit, and I enjoy it so much I can edit without losing concentration. But sometimes your boring admin stuff, there was too many distractions at home, so I'd go and work in a cafe where I wasn't. It sounds bizarre, but I didn't have as many distractions, which seems counterintuitive, but I could focus so much better in a cafe. So that is going, that is out. Next one. This was a hard one, because Nikki, our cleaning lady, has been with us for a few years now, and she's been brilliant and she does a fantastic job. But I can't really justify paying somebody to clean the house when I'm here all the time and I'm not working. I'm not, distracted by other things. I need to, take on that role again. I mean, I did it for many, many years, don't get me wrong. But pretty much all of the time I've had my business, for the last 7 years or so, we've had somebody come in and clean. Well, at least for the last 3 years, I think. But as I say, can't really justify that anymore. And bizarrely, I'm really quite enjoying it. And I didn't think I would, because all of the time I was working in paid employment, I didn't really enjoy doing the housework. But then I guess when you're working, it's a chore that you have to fit in around work. So you're kind of fitting the housework into weekends and evenings when you've already done a full-time, full day's work, full-time job. And then when I was running my business, I was quite often doing 12-hour days anyway. So the idea of settling down and doing housework was, oh no. So that's why we had Nikki. But actually now that I've got the time to do it, I'm really quite enjoying it. Next up is feeling guilty for doing nothing. I'm giving that up. I won't be buying it, but I'm giving that up for 2025. Because I think when you've been working all your life and you're married to somebody who's a bit of a workaholic, it's very hard to do nothing without feeling guilty for doing nothing. And the Dutch have a word for this, which I absolutely love. I think they call it Niksen, Niksen, which is the art of doing nothing without guilt. And I want to get into the habit of having times when I just do nothing and I don't feel guilty about it, where I don't feel I should be doing something or that I'm wasting time. Because I think it's that mentality of always having to keep going, always having to be busy, always having to be doing stuff that actually leaves us burnt out. So I'm going to embrace Niksen and do a bit of nothingness and embrace it and not feel guilty for it. Next up kind of comes in with the bags, but shoes and boots. I have rather a lot of shoes and boots. Trainers, dress shoes, long boots, ankle boots, red boots, black boots, brown boots, you name it, I've got them. And I don't need anywhere near as many shoes and boots as I've got. I think I don't even dare count up, but it will be well into the double figures. I think probably 30, 40 pairs. And that's after a big clear out as well. But I won't be buying any more. The only exception to that will be if, for example, my walking boots stop being, you know, doing the job they're meant to do, if they start leaking or something like that and they need replacing. But just buying for the sake of buying, And interestingly, since I've lost a bit of weight, some of my boots and shoes that didn't fit, that got a bit tight, suddenly fit again. So I've kind of got a whole new load of boots and shoes and sandals that fit again, that didn't. But I am going to have a clear out and get rid of some of the ones that I really haven't worn for a long time and probably won't wear again. You know, we always end up with a couple of pairs of shoes that we love, but they've never been comfortable, so we don't wear them. So I'm going to get rid of those and really declutter the wardrobes of my ridiculously large shoe collection. Something else that I'm not going to be doing, and it's not something I would buy, but it is something I'm going to stop doing, and that is setting big goals. For the last 7 years while I've been running my business, every year, in fact every quarter, I set myself targets and goals, and it puts pressure on you to have those goals. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that I won't have any life goals, but they're not going to be targets. That I'm not going to be driven by the goals. I want to be more focused on a direction. So I know we want to do more travel. I know we want to get out and about in Pete our camper van more. I know there are places we want to visit. I know there are people I want to spend a bit more time with. But what I don't want to be doing is making them rigid goals, like targets that I have to achieve. And I've put that pressure on myself for the last 6-7 years in my business, and I just don't want to do that anymore. So there've been no resolutions this year other than these things I'm giving up, and no targets and objectives and projects that I want to kind of work towards. If things come up and they sound like a good idea, maybe we'll do them, maybe we won't, I don't know. But I don't want to sit down and set myself these rigid targets that then make me feel like I've got pressure on myself to achieve them. So targets and goals, they ain't happening this year. I don't know how many I've got. I might have to go back and count up on these, but I think this is probably about number 13 maybe. Plastic, wherever possible, I want to stop using things that come in plastic bottles and plastic jars. I've already started that. I talked about this in the last video with things like using soap as an alternative to shampoo, and shower gels, so it comes in cardboard and it's not wrapped in plastic. And wherever possible, I want to try and get rid of the amount of plastic that I'm buying. So I've started using, for example, Wild deodorant that comes in a metal tin. You buy the tin and then you buy the refills that are wrapped in cardboard, and it's lovely. I'm not sponsored by Wild, unfortunately, but Wild deodorants are lovely. There's various different scents, and you just replace the refill. You know, you put a refill into the metal container, and they smell amazing, and they work really, really well, because that was my biggest concern was, you know, there's lots of organic and very natural products out there, but do they actually do the job they're meant to do? And Wild deodorant does. So I definitely want to find ways, as much as I can, of reducing my plastic footprint. Is that the right way to say it? So making sure that I always have canvas bags with me when I go shopping. I'm a little bit lax when it comes to that, and quite often I'll just grab a bag from the supermarket. But I don't want to do that. I want to really think carefully about the amount of plastic that I'm using, and wherever possible, see if I can find a non-plastic alternative. And that kind of leads on to the final one, which is having HelloFresh delivered to us. We've had HelloFresh delivered for our meals for probably 4 years now, and I love HelloFresh. It's not anything against HelloFresh. But again, I have more time on my hands now. Therefore I can get back to cooking, which I wasn't really doing because I just didn't have the bandwidth, you know, the headspace to be thinking about planning out meals, but I've no excuse now. I'm retired. So HelloFresh is something that we've made the decision not to continue with. And that also helps with the plastic reduction, because one of the things that I've always had a slight issue with when we've used HelloFresh is the amount of plastic that comes with, you know, they I don't know if you're familiar with HelloFresh, most people are, but basically it's a meal delivery service and they send you exactly what you need for each meal. And what that means is, if, for example, the meal needs honey, they'll send you a little pouch of honey. And if 3 of the meals need honey, they'll send you 3 little pouches of honey. Whereas ordinarily we'd have a jar of honey in the cupboard and I would just use a little bit of that, and it's probably in glass instead of plastic. Or I might be able to go and find locally sourced honey and use that instead. And that is one of the things I didn't like about HelloFresh. So hopefully by not having HelloFresh anymore, that will help with my plastic commitment. But again, as I say, I'm not working. I don't have any excuse for not planning out healthy meals. I do really enjoy cooking. I just haven't felt for the last few years like I've had the mental capacity to think about planning meals. So yeah, that's going to be another thing that I'm not buying. Now let me just check my list and make sure that I haven't missed anything. Okay, there is one more that I'm not going to be doing in 2025, or at least I'm going to do my best not to. These are kind of a work in progress, I suppose. Worrying about things that I can't control. Obviously this isn't something I buy, but it is something that I'm going to try not to do any more of, because I have got a tendency to worry about things, and a lot of the time they're things that it wouldn't matter whether I worried about them or didn't worry about them. If they're going to happen, they're going to happen, because I have no control over them. For example, I feel so sad when I look at the fires that are happening over in California at the minute. And it would be very easy for me to sit and worry. And I'm on the other side of the Atlantic and I can't worry, you know, or rather I can't do anything about what's happening over there other than, you know, send the best energy vibes I can to hopefully, you know, wish everybody hope everybody's safe, but I can't be worrying about it. And I do tend to worry about things. So worrying about things I can't control is the last thing on this particular list of things I'm giving up. Let me know, what are you planning on giving up? And if you've already given them up, we're now midway into January, let me know what they are and how you're getting on. And maybe, hopefully, this has given you a little bit of inspiration around things that maybe are cluttering up your life that you don't need, because that ultimately is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to declutter my life. I'm trying to simplify and minimize the amount of stuff that I have. Very conscious that my mum-in-law, who's 93, we're in the process, I say we, the family are in the process of selling her house and downsizing her house. And she has so much stuff. And I don't want to get to my 80s and my 90s and be laden with so many possessions. I really want to start thinking now about how I can reduce that now and not carry that forward with me as I get older. I don't want to put that on my kids where they've got, you know, 80 years of my detritus to try and get rid of. So it's me starting my minimalist journey. I won't be getting rid of everything. I do like a few things around me. I haven't got that true minimalist passion, I don't think. But I definitely do feel better when I have less stuff around me, if I'm honest. I'm finding that when we go out in our camper van, we haven't got the space, we haven't got the storage, we haven't got the weight to be able to carry it. So we're having to live much more minimally, and it's working okay. I will leave it there and I'll talk to you again soon. Take care.